This video made possible by the Global Innovation Exchange. Visit gixnetwork.org to learn more.
Thank you. Hello, Seattle. How you feeling about getting Seahawks tickets as a prize?
Devin's happy if you get them on StubHub, because that's one of eBay's companies, which we'll talk about in a sec. One of the places I wanted to start is an effort that you guys have been on seemingly since the early days, which is to, get people to think about the company as more than just, the stereotypical place to get Beanie Babies. You guys have done a lot. Most of the sales are not auctions. It's a lot of new merchandise. It's a lot of fixed price. What I don't think has happened is I don't think people's fundamental, when they think eBay, they still don't think that. Why is that such a tough nut to crack, and what's the next effort to do that?
Yeah, it's a real challenge to have one of the world's most iconic brands that's also one of the world's most misunderstood brands. And, if you look at any ranking of our brand, it's a top 20 or 30 brand in the world. There is no person in the world that if you mention eBay doesn't know what it is. But if I went out on the street and asked 1,000 people what we do, very many of them would say, oh yeah, that's where you buy collectibles or you buy kind of long tail items. But that's not our business. And our business today is really a modern end-to-end e-commerce business. Almost everything we sell is new. We sell everything from the head to the tail, and we're approaching 100 billion of sales. Most people wouldn't know that. So it is a challenge to try to change that. I start by saying it's always the experience that matters the most. The conversation quickly goes to marketing, and that has a role. But I'm inherently a product person, and our company is a tech company. It's not really a marketing company. So we're working really hard to just keep the experience improving. And that's the experience for customers who get great prices and fast shipping and good returns and retail standards, and for the merchants that make up the sell side of the marketplace so that they get velocity and protection. And, for me, we've grown the base a lot. I've been with the company, 6, 7 years now. I've been CEO for 3. When I started, we had 140 million customers, now 175 million. So the company keeps growing. But I do feel like there are 1 billion shoppers who would benefit from eBay who don't consider us because they don't know what we do. So a lot of it is the experience, but in the last year, in anger, we've really started marketing the brand as well. It's not something we historically did. So now, whether it's on broadcast television or on social or through a bunch of different forums, we talk about what we do. We talk about eBay, the company, what we do, and I hope that over time, it's not easy to change iconic brands, but my hope is over time that will change, and I think it is starting to change.
Well, I don't know, we went 3 minutes without talking about, I don't know if they're the elephant in the room, they're certainly the elephant in this city. When you talk about the future of retail, people tend to think of you guys and a certain other company that's based here.
Microsoft?
How do you see, Amazon? How do you see your role vis-a-vis them? Is it you guys versus traditional retail? Is it you guys with traditional retail?
First of all, I absolutely believe that there isn't going to be one place in the world where everybody shops. The physical retail world didn't evolve that way, although it might have looked that way in 2000 or 1999 when it looked like Walmart would have controlled supply chains and dominated retail forever. And people said there's no room for anyone other than Walmart because they have such a control over prices and supply chains. It obviously didn't work out that way. Nor will the digital world work out that way. And by the way, there won't just be a digital world, there'll be a hybrid world. So the way I do think retail will evolve is that you will get several pools of very large digital and physical shopping. Some of those might be a company that owns it by itself, and some might be partnerships. But I do think there'll be consolidation. I think that the physical retail world will see mass consolidation, and the bull market may be masking that, but that's a head fake.
And what types of retailers will existing retailers or new retailers will thrive continue to exist even.
Yeah, I think if you think about stores at the simplest level, what they solved in a pre-e-commerce world was they had local monopolies. Companies shipped stuff into those stores. You had to shop at the stores near you, so you bought what they gave you. That's not the case anymore. So just having stuff in a store isn't that useful. I think we've all been in retailers where it's an amazing experience. You know, nobody complains about going into an Apple store. It is fun, it's entertaining, it's informative, it's adding something to the commoditization of the inventory. We've also been in stores where it's a soul-destroying experience. And I'm not going to name any names, but there are retailers where it's just not fun, it's degrading the customer experience, the stuff is on shelves, people aren't helpful, they don't, there's no added value. In fact, I'd argue there's negative value. That's a lot of big box retail. That's a lot of commodity retail. There's no reason that that should exist in an e-commerce world. But I think you're going to end up with physical locations that add value to consumers, hybrided with digital. And back to our role, I never viewed us as in direct competition. Sure, there's an overlap, and it's easy to say it's us and Amazon or whatever people say, but I don't think of the world that way. I don't want to compete with Amazon. I want to get as far away from Amazon as I can. And I want us to stand for something fundamentally different. I want eBay to be a winner in discovery-based shopping. I want it to be a place where people think of first for the things they love, not just the things they need. I want us to be a champion of small business. That, to me, is core to our values. It's core to our brand. And I think that there's plenty of room in the world. You know, eBay's not going away, and obviously neither is our friends in this city, and that's fine. I mean, what's at stake is not e-commerce. It's a meaningless concept. What's at stake is commerce, which is $17 trillion. And I assure you there will be multiple parties within that $17 trillion.
And you guys are doing an interesting thing. You talked about the hybridization that probably most people don't know you're doing, which is figuring out how to partner with retail. What would the future of retail look like? You guys I happen to have been born in Akron, Ohio. You guys are doing something really interesting there. What are you doing there and why?
For me, that is more really about our values and what we stand for as a company than it is really moving the sales meter, right? You know, we'll get a couple of million of sales out of Akron. Out of our 100 billion, it's not really part of how we drive growth, but what it is it's putting our money where our mouth is.
Explain what it is, because I think most people don't even know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, what we have done is a program called Retail Revival, and that is we have gone into now 2 U.S. cities. We started with Akron. We, a couple of weeks ago, moved to Lansing, Michigan. And these are cities that have seen better days. They're ex-manufacturing hubs. Akron used to be the rubber manufacturing capital of the world.
Well, and when LeBron and I left, it was pretty, that's a big blow.
When you left, or what, did you
I was born in Akron. Yeah, when LeBron and I left, it...
So there's no better indication that Akron is past its heyday than when Ina left and then LeBron.
Yeah.
But, they reached out to us, we reached out to them, we went into Akron, and out of some of these old warehouses that have been abandoned, they're now these entrepreneurs, they're makers. They're these amazing people, and they're doing incredible things. They're fashion sellers, and they're artisans. They're not that sophisticated in e-commerce. So we went in there, we sent people in, we said we're going to partner with the local government. 100 merchants put their wares on eBay, and they're growing. And we're 6 months in, we're generating meaningful sales, they're hiring people. And you know what? Like, our employees, starting with me, are incredibly proud of this. This is what we stand for as a company. It's our values. It's about building a form of inclusive commerce. And Akron, and then Lansing, and there'll be many other cities where we go in and we help a post-manufacturing economy, and we help, in a season when tech has taken its body blows about the role it plays in society, some rightfully so. I want eBay to stand for something different. I want it to stand for something that really is adding value to real people in the real world.
And the future of retail on the positive side is somebody creating something that is of interest locally, but also if it's differentiated enough, they can sell it to somebody who walks through the door or around the world. I mean, that's kind of utopian, but it seems like that's part of the future of retail.
Well, look, I don't think at all the future is small merchants can't compete. I actually think a lot of the tools like AI and distributed commerce and the things that we're working on in offices like our Seattle office work to the benefit of small merchants. I mean, it's really, if you're a 3-person shop and you have great stuff, how do you compete with Walmart? Well, the way you compete is you plug into a global marketplace, you get access to hundreds of millions of customers, you use advanced tools like AI to target that you could never build yourself. I mean, you use eBay as your technology partner.
And I want to get into, because you guys have really invested in a lot of these technologies, and I want to get your thoughts on a bunch of the buzzwords that we're all talking about. 2 more questions, though, about your local friends in Seattle. One, they made big news yesterday with this, with raising the minimum wage. I've heard for their employees to $15 an hour. I've heard some interesting takes on both sides, or of why they did it, how they did it, what it means. What's your take on it? Is it good for America?
100%. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I mean, Amazon's going to pay warehouse workers a living wage. Fantastic. I want tech to succeed, and the way tech's going to succeed is not growth at all costs. The way tech is going to succeed is to begin to really have people in the real world feel that it's adding value. And if part of that is paying a fair wage to warehouse workers, terrific.
Do you think it will put a squeeze on big box retailers?
I mean, a lot of big box retailers have been moving in that direction anyway, so I don't know. I mean, this isn't our business. We're not a warehouse company. I don't have a direct comment on it other than to say, like, Amazon hires a lot of people, and if they're going to pay them more money, I think that's great.
One of the areas where you do directly compete, if not on warehouses, is kind of third-party merchants using you guys as a platform. You guys sent a cease and desist letter this morning to them. If they want to recruit your merchants, what's wrong with that? Why not?
Unfortunate timing that story came out when I'm here in Seattle, but I'm going to, I think the story speaks for itself. I'm just not even going to go there.
Okay. But fair to say that is an area of competition, is getting third-party merchants.
Look, sure, we compete, and we compete for buyers and sellers. I mean, it's not saying that I don't want to compete doesn't mean that it doesn't happen in the real world. I don't want to compete because Amazon is a great company, and I want to build a great company too. And this isn't about mano-a-mano competition. It's about serving customers. I want to build a differentiated proposition for buyers and sellers. I don't want us to be analogs of each other. I want eBay to be something different. So, of course, there's an overlap, but I don't think of it. I don't wake up in the morning and think, wow, it has to be I win or they lose, or vice versa. That is not the way I think about it. I think about customers. I think about building a better and differentiated proposition. I think about our values as a company and how that differentiates us. And that's what drives our company.
I mean, this is an individual dispute that I know you're not interested in talking about the specific stuff.
And I'm not going to.
Okay. But do you think it's more nice? Like, do you think some people are saying, it's time to start looking at Amazon from an antitrust perspective? Is that something you are encouraging any governments to look at?
That's not the way that we compete. I have to say we are neither a litigious company nor a company that thrives on using regulation as a positive or a negative. I'll leave it to regulators to decide that, but I want our company to be laser focused on customers. I got a question at an event like this that was about Google. It'll be safer ground for me than what you're talking about. And they said, should the government regulate Google's search engine? No. Do I sometimes think Google is unfair in their rankings? Sure, everybody has. But I don't want the government to solve that problem for me. What I want to do is build a proposition that's so good that customers fight to get to it. If Google has the ability to influence you away from your customers, maybe your customer proposition isn't good enough. So look, I'm not saying that regulation doesn't have a role, and maybe for society it does. But I don't think of that as a competitive weapon for our company. That's not the way we do business.
So kind of transitioning to where you do see it, which is technology, you guys have been and you've kind of led an effort to say, look, we need to be at the forefront of all these technologies. We need to see what they mean. And there's all these buzzwords that everyone in this room, I'm sure, is thinking, what does AI mean to me? What does VR mean to me? What does AR mean to me? You guys have been looking at these. Talk about, let's take these one by one, but I'm sure AI is a big one, but let's start with like AR and VR. You had this, it doesn't obviously apply to everything, but you guys have looked at, for StubHub, viewing where your seats are can be really valuable. What's the role of AR and VR, and why is VR kind of slower to take off?
Yeah, well, first of all, look, I think we are a technology company. It's how we compete. And as a technology company, it's really important that we experiment with things, some of which aren't going to work. And I want us to be on the cutting edge. And in offices like here in Seattle, we're doing really cool work with our data. We're doing really cool work with visualization. We're doing really cool work with blockchain. We can talk about all of that. But specifically to your question, I personally believe AR and VR is a platform. I think it's a little early. I think it hasn't fully developed because there haven't been really yet meaningful customer use cases. But we're getting there, and I think AR is first. If you just look at what Apple released with their AR kit and Google with their AR kit, you could start to see that it's not just something in a lab, it actually has utility. So I often press our team to both experiment but solve a real customer problem, even if it's a small customer problem. So an example would be that we launched for consumer sellers, which is a minority of our business, but still important. One of the big pain points is, I don't know how to ship this. I don't know what size box it goes in. So now in our app, you can just take your phone, put it over the item you're selling, and it'll show you exactly the size of the box you need. Okay, we're not solving world peace, but it's a real use case that people are using out in the wild of AR. And it's not like super cool, buzzy, but nobody uses it. It's real. For StubHub, similarly, what do people want when they're going to spend a lot of money on Seahawks tickets? They want to know what their view from the seat's going to be. So two-dimensional seat maps have been around a long time. StubHub is the world's leading secondary ticket seller. But now you can literally basically walk into the stadium, sit in your seat, and see your view. That's real value. For somebody going to drop a meaningful amount of money on a couple of tickets, I want to know if it's an obstructed view. I want to know what I'm going to be able to see. That's a real customer use case.
I think they also want to know if the Seahawks are going to win. I don't know if AI is quite there. Where does AI fit into what you guys are doing?
I'm a Jets fan, so it's not good. But
you don't need AI to tell you how that's going to work out.
It's not good for the Seahawks or the Jets. I could tell you without AI how it's going to come out.
Where are you guys using AI if not to predict your football team's success?
Look, first of all, AI is also a great buzzword. Much of what is called AI is not AI. It's machine learning, but whatever. When I think about what we do as a marketplace, ultimately, we mediate supply and demand, and that's a data problem. And data is so pervasive in our company that, to me, we're an AI company, and we have to win on our data and the way we use our data because we're not building warehouses. So we have so many data problems that are fascinating. And for us, if you want to call all of this AI, we've been doing this for many, many years. Our search, we do 450 million searches a day. Those are all data and AI driven. They're all driven by using our data and mediating supply and demand. We know exactly within a few standard deviations when people get their packages, and we make guarantees on that. How do we do that if it's not in our warehouse? Because every package that's ever shipped on eBay, trillions, has been mapped and tracked. We know exactly if the buyer and the seller are in point A and point B, and we know exactly how long it's going to take. and that's a data problem. We're starting to get some really cool emerging AI-like use cases. Image search is a great example early on of another practical use case. You can, particularly for eBay's inventory, which is long tail and oftentimes not structured, I don't need to take a picture if I want to buy an iPhone. I know what it is. But if I said like, hey, I really like your jacket, I really like your shoes, I want to buy that, I wouldn't know how to describe that. It's not that easy. Well, they're sort of brown and they're sort of this and that. Or I could just take a picture and show all the shoes that look exactly like that and do that in a second. That's a data problem. And image recognition is getting really, really good. We have a big team working on that. And this is an example where I think our company has a unique advantage. The reason is we have trillions of pictures that have been taken in the wild of every single piece of inventory that's ever been sold in the world. And some of those pictures are beautiful retail standards, and some of them are not. Some of them are pictures like I just took it in my house or in my backyard. To train a model on image search, it's actually a lot better to have real-world images than perfect white background retail images. So if I want to take a picture of this and see if I can find it, eBay's database probably has 100 pictures of this. Some look like they're a catalog, and many don't. And our model trains on that, and because of that, I think we're world's best right now at image search and getting better.
One other area of technology that I know you guys are spending a lot of time thinking about is payments for a couple reasons. One, historically, you guys own PayPal. You pushed as much transactions through that as possible. Then they spun off, but they were still kind of fairly exclusive. That exclusivity is starting to go away. You guys are looking a lot at payments technology. You recently started taking Apple Pay. Talk about how you guys look at the payments landscape broadly, and then I'm curious on your thoughts on crypto as well.
Yeah, so just starting with us, so eBay bought PayPal in 2002, and at the time the decision was made to basically insource the economics and the experience to PayPal. Most modern marketplaces don't work that way. They internalize payments, they intermediate payments. So when we spun PayPal out 3.5 years ago, it gave us the opportunity to take another look. And that's what we're doing. So we've announced that we're going to intermediate payments.
And when you say that, you mean you're going to accept a variety of payments?
Yeah, so for buyers, they'll get a lot of choice. PayPal is a great partner of ours, and it'll still be available. But I don't know why I want to constrain buyers to PayPal. I want buyers to pay however they want to pay. Pay with a credit card, pay with Apple Pay. That's great. That takes friction out. And for sellers, I want to give them a price break. I want to lower their fees. And there's so much money at stake. Right now, this project we have is probably the largest payment project in the world. We are live intermediating a $100 billion marketplace. It's really never been done before. But it's super exciting. The economics are very compelling for our shareholders and for our sellers. And I think the experience is going to be just really, really materially better. It'll take time, partly because we have an agreement with PayPal that there are limits to what we can do until June of 2020. But we're on a full sprint from now until then, and it's really, really exciting project in our company, some of which is being worked on in Seattle.
Do you have an office in
Seattle?
Seattle? Yes, we're hiring. Because I haven't heard you mention the Seattle office.
Listen, we have an office in Seattle. They're all Seahawks fans, and they are doing cutting-edge work, and we're hiring up here. So, yes.
Back to payments. Is there a place in your world, is there anything about the cryptocurrency efforts that is of interest to you, or it's kind of a lot of talk and not really a lot of practical application for you?
Well, no, I think there will be. I'm really excited and a bull on crypto generally, but not a bull on the acceptance of crypto in retail settings today. For a simple reason, which is the volatility makes it almost impossible. No consumer wants to pay with a currency that's going to be 10% higher or lower the next day. You need stability in currency to pay for stuff. There's no consumer in the real world saying, I need Bitcoin to pay for things on eBay. That doesn't mean I'm not excited and bullish about the blockchain and about cryptocurrency. I think just like a lot of AI is not AI, a lot of crypto is not really crypto. You can't really track a tomato on the blockchain. That's not a blockchain. But with that said, a distributed database and a distributed incentive system could have a meaningful role in centrally regulated marketplaces. So we're thinking a lot about it and experimenting with it, and I'm a fan. I want to see it become the next emerging platform.
All right. Well, Devin, thank you very much. I hear they have an office somewhere in the Seattle area. Also, in your inbox yesterday and today, you're getting Login, which is the daily tech newsletter that I do for Axios, which I hope you're enjoying. But if you want to keep getting it, you actually have to opt in because we want to be respectful. So be sure and sign up if you want to keep getting it. If you like what I do and like what I write, that's great. If not, I have some great colleagues that also contribute. So sign up to get their work. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Devin.